Good day, everyone. Today I'll be discussing a significant social movement that has shaped our modern world feminism. Over the years, feminism has evolved through distinct phases, often called to as the waves of feminism. These waves represent the evolving goals, methods, and perspectives of feminists to address various forms of gender inequality and social injustice. Initially focused on legal rights and suffrage, the movement expanded to tackle issues like workplace equality, reproductive rights, and societal norms. Today, feminism continues to advocate for justice and equity, utilizing both grassroots activism and digital platforms to challenge systemic sexism, promote inclusivity, and empower marginalized voices. Now, let's take a closer look at each of the four waves of feminism. The first wave of feminism. The first wave of feminism is a term used to describe the period of feminist activity that occurred during the late 19th and the early 20th centuries, primarily in the Western world. The wave is often seen as the beginning of the organized feminist movement, with its primary focus on legal issues and the fight for women's suffrage, the right to vote. However, the movement also addressed broader concerns related to women's social, economic, and educational rights. The first organized movement aimed at gaining rights for American women effectively began in July 1848 with a convention organized by Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott at Seneca Falls, New York. Attendees signed the Declaration of Sentiments, which affirmed women's equality with men, and passed a dozen resolutions calling for various specific rights, including the right to vote. Although the early women's rights movement was linked to abolitionism, passage of the 15th Amendment in 1870 angered some women's rights leaders who resented black men being granted suffrage before white women. Similarly, the women's suffrage movement also largely marginalized for excluded black feminists like Sojourner Truth and Ida B. Wells. Though ratification of the 19th Amendment in 1920 fulfilled the principal goal of feminism's first black, first wave, guaranteeing white women the right to vote, black women and other women of color continued face faced continued obstacles until passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. One movie that has discussed this is called Suffragette. This film, Suffragette, focuses on the first wave of feminism, which primarily revolved around the fight for women's suffrage, the right to vote. The film captures the struggles, sacrifices, and determination of the women involved in this movement, highlighting how their activism laid the groundwork for subsequent feminist waves that would expand the fight for gender equality beyond just the right to vote. By focusing on this era, Suffragette emphasizes the significance of the first wave of feminism in setting the stage for future advancements in women's rights. Next is the second wave. The second wave of feminism began in the 1960s and extended into the 1980s. This wave expanded its focus beyond voting rights to address broader issues of inequality in every area of women's life. In 1963, Betty Friedan published The Feminine Mystique, which argued that women were shaping against the confines of their roles as wives and mothers. The book was a massive success, selling 3 million copies in 3 years and launching what became known as the second wave of feminism. Inspired by the civil rights movement and protests against the Vietnam War, Second wave feminists called for a re-evaluation of traditional gender roles in society and an end to sexist discrimination. Feminism, or women's liberation, gained strength as a political force in the 1970s, as Friedan, Gloria Steinem, and Bella Abzug founded the National Women's Political Caucus in 1971. High points of the second wave included passage of the Equal Pay Act and the landmark Supreme Court decisions in Griswold via Connecticut, 1965, and Roe v. Wade, 1973, related to the reproductive freedom. But while Congress passed the Equal Rights Amendment in 1972, a conservative backlash ensured it fell short of the number of states needed for ratification. Like the suffrage movement, second wave feminism drew criticism for centering privileged white women, and some black women formed their own feminist organizations, including the National Black Feminist Organization. Despite its achievements, the women's liberation movement had begun to lose momentum by 1980, when conservative forces swept Ronald Reagan into the White House. One movie that has discussed this is called Vagabond. The film Vagabond, directed by Agnes Verda, is often associated with the themes of the second wave of feminism. The film tells the story of a young woman, Mona, who rejects societal norms and chooses a life of autonomy and isolation, embodying the second wave's emphasis on personal liberation and challenging the traditional gender roles. Through Mona's journey, Vagabond explores themes of independence, identity, and the consequences of living outside societal expectations, reflecting the second wave's focus on women's right to define their own lives and resist the pressures of conformity. The film's stark portrayal of a woman who refuses to be confined by societal norms serves as a powerful commentary on the feminist struggle for true autonomy and self determination. Next is the third wave. The third wave of feminism emerged in the 1990s as a response to the perceived limitations of the second wave. It sought to challenge the definitions of femininity established by earlier feminists to embrace diversity. While the advances of second wave feminism had undoubtedly achieved more equality and rights for women, the movement that emerged in the early 1990s focused on tackling problems that still existed, including sexual harassment in the workplace and a shortage of women in positions of power. Rebecca Walker, the mixed-race daughter of a second-wave leader Alice Walker, announced the arrival of feminism's third wave in 1992. While watching Anita Hill testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee about her accusations of sexual harassment against Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas. That same year, dubbed the Year of the Woman, saw an unprecedented number of women elected to Congress. Embracing the spirit of rebellion instead of reform, third wave feminists encourage women to express their sexuality and individuality. Many embraced a more traditionally feminine style of dress and grooming, and even rejected the term feminist as a way of distancing themselves from the second wave predecessors. Riot Girl groups like Bikini Kill, Brat Mobile, and Heavens to Betsy brought their brand of feminism into pop music, including songs that address issues of sexism, patriarchy, abuse, racism, and rape. Third wave feminism also sought to be more inclusive when it came to race and gender. The work of scholar and theorist Kimberly Crenshaw of the concept of intersectionality, or how types of oppression based on race, class, gender, etc., can overlap, was particularly influential in this area. Third wave feminists also drew on the work of gender theorist Judith Butler, including support for trans rights in this type of intersectional feminism. One movie that has discussed this is called Hidden Figures. The film Hidden Figures aligns with the themes of the third wave of feminism, which emphasizes diversity, intersectionality, and the inclusion of marginalized voices in the feminist movement. By telling the true story of three African American women, Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, who played crucial roles at NASA or NASA during the 1960s, the film highlights how gender and race intersect to create unique challenges. Third wave feminism seeks to address the complexities and broaden the understanding of what feminism means by incorporating the experiences of women of color, working class women, and others who have historically been excluded from the feminist narrative. Hidden Figures underscores the importance of recognizing and celebrating the contributions of women who have been overlooked, illustrating how the third way's focus on inclusivity is vital to the ongoing struggle for equality and representation in all spheres of life. And lastly, the fourth wave. The fourth wave of feminism is the most recent, emerging around 2012 and continuing to evolve up to the present day. This wave is heavily influenced by digital technology and social media. Through fourth wave feminism, though fourth wave feminism is relatively difficult to define, as some people argue it's simply a continuation of the third wave, the emergence of the internet has certainly led to a new brand of social media fueled activism. Launched by Tarana Burke in 2007, the hashtag MeToo movement took off in 2017 in the wake of revelations about the sexual misconduct of influential film producer Harvey Weinstein. In addition to holding powerful men accountable for their actions, fourth wave feminists are turning their attention to the systems that allow such misconduct to occur. Like their predecessors in the feminist cause, they also continue to grapple with the concept of intersectionality and how the movement can be inclusive and representative regardless of sexuality, race, class, and gender. One movie that has discussed this is called Confirmation. The film Confirmation delves into themes central to the fourth wave of feminism, which is characterized by a focus on combining sexual harassment, assault, and systemic sexism, often amplified through digital activism. The film recounts the 1991 Senate confirmation hearings of the Supreme Court nominee Clarence Thomas, during which Anita Hill testified that Thomas had sexually harassed her. Confirmation explores the intense scrutiny and public backlash Hill faced, reflecting the broader cultural issues around believing women and holding powerful men accountable. The fourth wave's emphasis on intersectionality, social justice, and the use of online platforms to advocate for survivors of sexual misconduct is mirrored in how the film highlights the importance of confronting institutional power structures and the persistent challenges women face in being heard and believed. Through Hill's story, Confirmation underscores the enduring relevance of these issues and the ongoing fight for justice and equality in the digital age. So that's it for today. In conclusion, the four waves of feminism represent the ongoing struggle for gender equality and social justice. Each wave has built upon the achievements and lessons of the previous ones, continually adapting to the changing needs and realities of society. While much progress has been made, the fight for the true equality continues, reminding us that feminism remains as relevant today as ever. So, thank you for listening. Once again, I am today reporting. Thank you.